Hello, welcome back. As always, thank you for tuning in and for, your dedication to your practice. hmm Yeah, it's very important to do exactly what you're doing, and you know it is to take the time out of daily life, which is full of stuff. Yeah, it's very easy to feel completely bombarded and frustrated, stressed, afraid, overwhelmed here in the world. It can seem like a rather joyless and stressful place sometimes, can't it? The reality here for almost everybody is that we experience this mad, chaotic roller coaster as we go about doing life. No matter where you live, that actually makes absolutely no difference. You could live in the most peaceful place in the world. Is your own mind peaceful or is it still chaotic? Exactly. Right, so it doesn't make any difference where we're from. It makes no difference how old we are or what we do or do not do for work or what we have or haven't done for work or how much money we've got, if any, and well, how much influence and pull and prestige we have, if any. And none of that matters at all. We're all having this chaotic experience where we feel really great 1 minute, joyful, very happy, content, loving, forgiving, and sometimes blissed out. And then the very next second, our bubble pops, so to speak. We're thrown into a wild state of chaos and disequilibrium, and then we feel angry or enraged or high and then low. There always seems to be a crash right around the corner, which can seem like a very stressful experience. That's how we experience it. So, what's very important is that we all recognize that we've been, in fact, paying attention to the call of the Holy Spirit. You may not call it that. You don't have to call it that. The Holy Spirit is our inner teacher, and it, issues a call to everyone at all times to awaken. And everyone, regardless of whether they call it this or not, every single person that is on what we call the spiritual path in the world, no matter the tradition, has heard this call and they have answered it. This includes you, everyone. It's all inclusive, right? The call goes out to everyone, anybody who is on any spiritual path at all, who has any interest whatsoever in spirituality, has not only heard the call of our inner teacher, but this person has answered it. You have answered it. So for that, we all thank you. A Course in Miracles is simply one of many traditions extant in the world. As we all know, that's pretty obvious. It's one of many doors. You may choose to follow this as your sole spiritual practice. It's a choice. Plenty of people do not. In fact, it's a self-study curriculum, and there are plenty of people who derive great benefit from studying this course as an adjunct or as an addition to a tradition that they're already following. Many people have commented over the years that studying the ideas here from A Course in Miracles and putting them into practice, which is really how we learn, has helped them on their own walk in another tradition. It has helped elucidate their own walk, illuminate it. That's perfectly fine. The reality is, as with any spiritual tradition at all, we do with this material what we're called to do. If you practice nothing else and study nothing else, that's perfectly fine. But wherever you find yourself in relation to this big fat blue book, which is rather thick, don't let that intimidate you, by the way. There are many big, thick, fat books in the world. You're here, and let's just be very clear that these videos are designed as a supplement to your own learning, not a replacement for your own learning. There are no replacement for your own study of this material, whether you read it online or you have the actual physical book. That doesn't matter. It's not a replacement for your own study, and it most definitely, unequivocally, is no replacement for your own practice of this material. Let's be very clear about that. A Course in Miracles is a self-study curriculum. It's universal in theme, universal in application, meaning it doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, what you're into, as far as this compendium of things and traditions called spirituality is. It doesn't matter what you're doing or what you're interested in. You're here. That should tell you everything you need to know. It tells me everything I need to know. So, as a self-study curriculum, we learn it by doing it. Self-study. It's one thing to understand these ideas intellectually. We'll talk about some of those today, as we always do. Where we really learn is doing it. This is where it's at, so to speak. In our day-to-day, moment-to-moment practice, when we put these ideas into practice, we learn the best because our experience demonstrates to us that the ideas are true. We do it, we see that the ideas are true, and we get it on an experiential level. All spirituality is about experience, as you well know. Same here. You learn it by doing it. So if you don't wish to do it, don't expect to learn it. Mm, right? Exactly. So let's talk about something we're invited to do that we find threatening, very threatening. If this deep discomfort's coming up for you, no problem. It's part of the path. We're invited to give everything in our lives over to the Holy Spirit. Give it to Him. Everything. You might first, and rightly, question what exactly that even means. Great question. It's one of those questions when you first encounter this material that you wonder, okay, what does that even mean? So let's back up for a second and understand here that A Course in Miracles is addressing the mind. This mind that appears to be torn into, or in many pieces, that appears to be split between up, down, between forgiveness and condemnation, between highs and lows, between love and hate, this exhausted stressed out mind that thinks it's split, that wants to go back to God, source, capital S, yet still wants to retain this false sense of individuality, egoville, wants to keep its own little made up hatreds and guilt and fear and blame, doesn't want it, yet wants it up, down, wants to set aside the world that we've made, yet clings to it at the same time, can't stand it, but can't live without it. Yeah, you can relate to that dilemma. We're all having that dilemma because this conversation appears to be happening. If we weren't, it would not be necessary. That's for sure. So the course addresses the mind. It's a course in mind training. So when it says give everything over to the Holy Spirit, it does not mean get rid of all of your possessions, shave your head if you have not shaved your head, and run off to the Himalayas, take up robes as a monk or nun, and wall yourself off from the rest of the world for all time. Does that seem like an exaggeration? Well, you'd be surprised what people have written. No, that's not what we're saying here. A Course in Miracles is not going to tell you that you must do X in the world or you must do Y. You must live in this location. You must live in that location. You must take this job and not this job. You must do this and not that here in the world. It's not about that. So when we say give everything over to the Holy Spirit, it's in our mind. Not organize a garage sale or a yard sale, sell everything to the Holy Spirit, who, by the way, doesn't have any money to buy your stuff. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. It's all in the mind. Why do we do this? The Holy Spirit has use for everything that we experience here, our relationships, our jobs, everything, our thoughts, our speech, every meeting, every phone call, every email, every text, every interaction we appear to have with somebody can be given over to the Holy Spirit. For what? For his purposes. In other words, for the purpose of healing the mind. Everything that we can use harmfully, our jobs, our prestige, our power, our social status, our relationships, our physical strength, we can use both helpfully and harmfully, can't we? Everything that can be used to further the false belief in separation can be given over to the Holy Spirit and used to heal the mind, used for the purposes of healing. So, in paraphrasing the Course, this world can seem a very, very joyless place. How do you find joy in a joyless place? By realizing you're not there. There is no world. Central teaching of A Course in Miracles. Is that the first time you've heard that? Okay, if it is, welcome. If it's not, again, welcome. It's an idea that bears repeating because this world appears to be super concrete, solid, and painful. That's the way we've made it. When we give things over to the Holy Spirit, we're making a very powerful choice, a very powerful choice indeed, to see things differently. to look at all of our stuff with the Holy Spirit. He sees them differently. All of our stuff, all situations, anything that we've made to foster and continue this false belief in separation, that we're separate from God. We're not, that we're separate from our brother, that there's separation upon separation and multiplicity. Anything that we use for that, he can use to demonstrate otherwise, to show us that, in fact, separation is not true and that we can set it aside. Anything we use to harm and lash out, the Holy Spirit can use for the purposes of healing. We're invited to allow him to do this and relax and trust his guidance. Give everything over to him in any situation, any time during the day, incidentally, or night, or when you're dreaming, if you remember to do that. Any time that you remember to give everything over to the Holy Spirit, do just that. He responds to the slightest invitation, by the way, fully and completely. This is all done in the mind. A Course in Miracles is not about affecting the outcome of certain things in the world. It's not about affecting the outcome of elections in the world. It is not about affecting the outcome of job interviews or a first date, if you're on one, or a second date for that matter. Any relationship, any situation at all. When the Course says that there is no world, what is meant by that is that, well, we're perfectly at home in God where we've always been as the thought of God, the extension of God. Yeah, the Son of God. That does not refer simply exclusively to Jesus, by the way, not even. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. The Son of God is everyone. It's all inclusive and singular, by the way. The extension of God. Like extends like. Love extends itself. God extends himself. We've never left. This chaotic nightmare is a dream. It's a dream. That's why they call enlightenment awakening. It's a very appropriate term. So we give everything over to the Holy Spirit and we listen to the Holy Spirit's guidance. And we learn over time, because it does take time, to relax and trust. We think we have to control everything ourselves. And when we do that, we discover that, well, we're not happy. We're constantly stressed out, dissatisfied, frustrated. It's because we're trying to manipulate, order, and control the outcome in a world that is not even real at all. People who start the workbook for students are almost exclusively and almost entirely taken aback at lesson one. Nothing I see on this street means anything. Nothing I see out this window means anything. Nothing I see on this screen means anything. Nothing I see in this room means anything. And they rightly wonder, what does this even have to do with spirituality? I thought this was a Course in Miracles, and this is lesson one. Nothing I see in this room means anything. What the? Huh? Well, there is no world. Of course, nothing we see in this room means anything. What room? Nothing we see on this screen means anything. Yeah, what screen? We don't see things as they are. This course, should you choose to follow it, and I hope you do, will help you to see them as they are, to see everything as it really is. I mean, There are plenty of times in our lives where we would readily accept that well, things are not as they seem. There's more to it than this. Yeah, of course there is. So, yes, to that. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a part of us that has always known that these ideas are true, that in fact we've never left our source, capital S, that we're perfectly at home in God, and that we're not a compound body that's destined to crap out in a few decades or a few years, or we don't even know, maybe even a few minutes. Hopefully not, but we don't know that. But there's more to it than that. This is not who we are. And we all know that deep down. That's listening to the call of the Holy Spirit. So, what do? We go forth and we give our experience over to Him. We forgive under His guidance, its guidance, if you prefer, because the Holy Spirit's not a dude. It's not human. It's not a woman. It's not a dude. It's not a human being. And because we're not a physical body, guess what? In truth, neither are we. Hmm. It's not what our biology textbooks teach us. So, if you're newer to this, or even if you're a 30-year so-called veteran of this course, there are moments where all of a sudden we begin to really notice and get the depth of this. You deserve nothing less than that. So, in these videos, expect to get A Course in Miracles and what it means, not some watered down version that wants to make the exterior dream look better and affect the outcome of someone's bank account or a home, a different home or a different job or a different regime in politics or something like that, right? Is not about that at all. As with all spiritual traditions, A Course in Miracles can be misinterpreted by those who don't wish to see and practice and accept its true meaning. So you deserve nothing less than this course and what it says and what it means, not some watered down version thereof, nor some derivative thereof. Haven't we all played around enough? Only you can answer that question, by the way, for yourself. You retain free will in this. Whether you choose to see yourself as having the freedom to choose or not, you do. If you say, I don't have the freedom to choose, you just chose. So you just exercised it, case in point. Guess what? You chose the ego. You don't have to. We can continue to choose the ego and experience the same stuff in life. Or we could choose to follow the guidance of the Holy Spirit instead. And it's pretty clear which will lead us to waking up from the dream. This course is not about making the dream brighter or more lucrative financially, even though, that might be nice. Sure. It's not about rearranging illusions. It's about waking up from the dream and setting all illusions aside, allowing truth to be just as it is. It's a very powerful, very direct, well, and you deserve nothing less. So that's what you get here, uncompromising. You very much know that spirituality is an adult endeavor. I often say that. It's true. This is highly applicable all the time. It's about taking a look at our stuff, honestly, and leaving nothing hidden at all. It's not rainbows and unicorns and a tropical retreat in Costa Rica, which really kind of sounds fun, or a Mediterranean holiday, which also sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? I mean, nothing against that at all. But that's not what this is about. It's about setting the ego aside. In order to do that, we've got to look at it, which we, frankly, fear to do. So we do it a little bit at a time, as directed under the guidance of our inner teacher. So give it all over to the Holy Spirit. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Extend love, however you're called to do it, and rinse, repeat. So at this point in the conversation, as we wrap up, in fact, it's also really clear why not everybody in the world is into this. Yeah. I mean, really think about it. The central teaching is there is no world. You're perfectly at home in God. You're not a body. And this isn't about making the dream better or more comfortable for you. It's about waking up from it. Who's ready for that? Here on this wobbling, spinning ball of rock where there appear to be 8 billion plus things called human beings running amok, absolutely amok. Who's ready? There is no world. Exactly. Here's what's relevant. This is germane. Directly, you're here. You're still watching. Which, when you think about it, is pretty remarkable. This is just one of, I don't even know how many channels on this one social media platform alone, much less the rest of the internet. I mean, if it seems like finding a needle in a haystack, yeah, kind of is. You're here. You have been directed here by the Holy Spirit who has delivered you a message over the past 20 some odd minutes or so. I mean, you know what that is when you hear it. So we would all do very, very well indeed to listen to it, to pay attention. And questions are inevitable because this is very deep. Again, you deserve nothing less than that because you've come a lot farther than you think. I insist. May not feel like it at the time. I can sure appreciate that. Yes, we can all relate. Think about it. This material has found you. There's a message here for you from the Holy Spirit. You've come way farther than perhaps you give yourself credit for. Way farther. So keep going. You have help. First and foremost, the guidance of the Holy Spirit, of course. Call it whatever you want to call it, by the way. Doesn't matter. Jesus, the Holy Spirit, same. You may call the Holy Spirit your high council full of multiple names and guides if you want to. It's the same thing. It's part of our mind. We're invited to listen to it. So we can appeal to our inner teacher first and foremost for help. And then we have lots of, well, other people, our brother, practicing the course here. So you're welcome to ask questions here on this YouTube thread if you wish. This is a very, very good place to pose a question. And Yeah, so I invite that for sure. If you have not subscribed, please do that. This is that prompt over here in the corner of your screen. Click that. You'll be invited to join us. Thank you to those of you who recently have. There's always something to say. So you'll find that there are several conversations each week. So I thank you wherever you are in the world for taking your time out of your day, your evening, whatever time it is when you watch this. Part of the beauty of this modern technology is we can reach each other 24/7 all over wobbling, spinning ball of rock. So this technology can be used to disseminate love, to share the Holy Spirit. That's what's going on right now. So I thank you for tuning in to that, and I will talk to you very soon.